Imagine working so hard and dedicating yourself to a particular sport. You then get drafted to become a professional football player. After that, we go to university, study sports psychology. The next natural move is moving into the corporate world. Working in the fitness industry for over 20 years, helping manage over 1 million members, 200 different locations right across the United Kingdom. Then taking all that wealth, that knowledge, all those skills, and deciding to quit it and moving yourself into your own space. Starting your own business. My next guest has done exactly that. I can't wait to speak to him, pick his brain. My name's John from Live at the Hive. Hi Derek, how are you today?
Hey John, how you doing?
Good, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm very, very well, thank you.
Absolutely. I'm pretty excited to be talking to you. What I really...
Hey John, how are you? You doing well?
Good, mate. Yourself?
No, I'm really well, thank you. Listen, first and foremost, thank you so much for inviting me on. I'm really excited and looking forward to having a chat with you. Don't ask me any difficult questions, but please.
Absolutely. I'm excited for you to be here, mate. I'm really wanting to pick your brain over the next half an hour for sure and go through everything and hear your story and all that. So I'm really excited that you've decided to come on here and have a chat with me.
Brilliant. And don't let the bald head fool you. I'm younger than I look.
Mate, we go the same hair salon. Don't worry about it. We got this.
I'm impressed with your board behind you, John. I'm impressed you've got your notes up there. I suppose my background's a little bit bland in comparison.
I'm old school. I love a chalkboard. I'm a big fan of a chalkboard.
Well, you can't see it, but my whiteboard is in front of me, and I've tried to preempt some of the questions you might be asking. So if you see me looking over here, it's so I can it's my script that I'm referring to.
Absolutely. Let's go straight into it. Your story. Tell me your story. Starting at the beginning.
No, how long have you got? Listen, it's been an interesting story, and I think my story my career started as a professional sportsman, where I played professional football. I spent a couple of years with I don't know if I should share this actually, but 2 years with Rangers Football Club. Went there when I was about 17-year-old kids. Spent 2 years there, had a fantastic time, fantastic learning experience, and looking back now, we'll probably discuss this with great learnings later in the interview, but I didn't quite make the grade there. So I spent the next sort of 3 or 4 years playing in the first division. Had a great career, thoroughly enjoyed it, but thought at that point in time, this isn't long term for me. So I went and got myself re-educated. Went back to, first of all, had to go through the stages. Did okay at school, but went through the stages of college, and then went to university. Lucky enough, got accepted to Strathclyde Uni, the Scottish School of Sport, where I did my degree there. It started off a BA Sport and Community, but sort of took a different pathway and specialised in sports psychology, which I thoroughly enjoyed, which I think laid a lot of foundations for my thoughts and my approaches maybe later on in my business life. And then, to be honest with you, coming out of university, probably like so many people do, I thought, what am I going to do next? And I sort of fell into the fitness industry. So for the last, let's say, 20-25 years, probably lying about my age now, I've worked in the fitness industry, and I worked 20 years with a big corporate business, which had a portfolio of clubs across the UK and globally. But latterly, I looked after 200 sites, and my role was group operations and people director. And when I say 200 sites, it was a combination of both leisure sites, what you would know as health clubs, and retail sites as well, which was fantastic learning for me, being involved in retail for the last 5-6 years. And in terms of role, group operations and people director, I was responsible and accountable for all operations, all sales, pretty much what you would call put under the guise of performance, and like the L&D, HR, everything fell under my remit. So you could say I had full accountability for the performance of the business, which is probably why I've lost I've lost my hair. And listen, I'd had a fantastic 20 years in the corporate business. I was lucky to work with some really big hitters, some real influential private equity companies, venture capitalists, work under one or two really, really big hitting CEOs, like some people like Andy Costlett, who is International Hotel Group, Cadbury's, Coca. That was the sort of people that I was fortunate enough to learn from. And I think now we've sort of reached the stage whereby 4 or 5 years ago, the business I worked for got acquired by another business, and at that point in time, I thought, am I going to stay? Am I going to do another sort of, let's call it another chapter here, another phase here, or do I go and do my own thing? And I was sort of half integrated, part integrated, do a donor. And I probably took not the easy option, but the comfortable option was to stay with the business. And again, as I say, that was the sort of last 5 years. And now, just recently, again, I've made that. We're going through another transition, and I've made the decision. Now is the time to be brave, and I'm actually in the midst of starting my own business now, called Headway Training Academy. Which do you want me to elaborate on that just now, John? In terms of what
absolutely. Okay. If you can go through a wee bit of that, and you don't have to give too much away, of course, but you can give us a wee bit.
No, listen, absolutely. Listen, I'm there. In terms of what I call it, Headway Training Academy, I'm taking all the learnings, all the skill set, all the knowledge that I've accumulated and acquired in the corporate world, but also I've spent the last 10 years studying. I'm a bit of a self-starter. I like to keep myself busy. I've got a really curious mind. So I spent the last 10 years studying NLP.
Sorry, can I just stop you there for a sec? What's NLP?
So NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. So ultimately, it's there's different let's call it levels to it. And there's different ways you can look at it. Ultimately, it's looking at successful people and understanding what makes them tick, and looking at how you can role model and how you can take the positives and the benefits and let's call it the traits of successful people, and then apply them to yourself and apply them to other people. When you talk about the sort of programming side of it, it's looking at how people think at this point in time. And for example, you might be, dead simple analogy, you might be scared of spiders, right? So there's something that has made you scared of spiders, John. Very, very simply, whether it's something that's happened in the past, whether it's been an emotional incident, and every time you now see a spider or something that looks like a spider, you get a little bit jittery. What I do is I help you overcome that. I help you to reframe and reprogram the mind. So if you see a spider, do you know what? I actually don't get that raw emotion of fear. So combining all that, and listen, I've used that in my business. Some people look at NLP and say it's mind manipulation, but it's not. It's about getting a critical mass of people thinking the same thing at the same time to take a business forward. So yeah, as I said, I've been studying NLP for the last 10 years. So when I combine that in terms of the NLP, the education that I've gone through myself, how I've utilised that to get the best out of people over my business, my corporate career, the interactions and interfaces I've had with high level, big hitting people in the corporate world, the success I've had through performance. I'm saying, what, now is the time to go and, as I say, apply that to my own business. So there'll be 3 business channels, John. One will be let's call it a corporate entity, which will be, taking all the skill set, i.e. the leadership acumen, the change management acumen that I've gathered, the understanding of culture and behaviours and how to maximise performance in businesses. That'll be one business channel where I'll go and support businesses to do that. My middle business channel will be more of a practice, whereby under the guise of wellness, where I will support people through their fitness, let's call it their physiological adaptations, but also their psychological adaptations as well. We'll pull in the NLP stuff. So a real body and mind combination, because they both work hand in hand, don't they? And one I'm also really, really excited about is that I'm setting myself up as an educator. So I will deliver qualifications in the fitness sector and other sectors. Some will be official qualifications, whereby you gain a level 2, level 3, let's call it qualification in fitness consultant or personal training, but also working with the governing bodies and put together a number of courses and modules which will generate CPDs, continued professional development, which you then as a business and an organisation can put your employees through to keep their legislation with government bodies. So 3 business channels, real exciting times, but I'll be honest with you, is brilliant because, you know, you step out of one role. I'll be honest with you, people look at me and go, are you off your head? You've got a job, you've been in the corporate world, and in the current climate, COVID, you want to go and work for yourself. But the way I look at it, you know, fear's never going to stop me. You know, I'm not going to let my past dictate what my future's like. And this is something I was always going to do it. And you know what, now I do honestly feel that now is a time where not only individuals but businesses will need support. And when I look at the fitness qualification side, I think, you know, in terms of the back of COVID, obesity obviously being you know, a prime, you know, prevalent in those who really, really struggle with COVID. I think the narrative from the government, I think the mindset of the population will be right, okay, being fitter and being healthier, etc., etc. So I've got 1 or 2 other interesting projects that I'm running with that as well, which I'll elaborate on later with a friend of mine, Alan Strachan.
Cool. So in regards to, you just touched on COVID there, has COVID affected you in regards to your business and like moving forward with this and everything that you're going to, or has it actually had the opposite effect where it's given you time to spend on your business and you've had that wee bit of downtime? Obviously you touched on that you decided to exit out of the corporate world and this was a good segue into it. But have you found any difficulties with COVID and trying to launch that?
Do you know what, I think you sort of answered the question yourself there, John, whereby in terms of difficulties, I'm a great believer that you focus on what you have now, you know, and not what you could have had or what you've had in the past, you know. So I think COVID for me has actually been a real catalyst to not give myself a kick up the backside, but you know, to actually get me to move on. I suppose when you look at if there's any negatives round about COVID, and obviously, you know, barring all the obvious negatives, I think, you know, just in terms of getting face to face with people, making contact with people, and I think looking at, and I'm already starting to deliver education at this point in time, and I think I'm a real face to face person. I enjoy the face to face aspects. I enjoy the one-to-one interaction, and I think it's a great way for people to learn. I think it's a great way to build rapport with people. So learners that I've got just now, obviously it's all Zoom like we're doing just now. So listen, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, and you know what, you need to get used to that in the future. But I'd probably say that's been it's not been a barrier, but it's probably not allowed me to go and, you know, express myself and get in front of people and potentially bring my personality and character. It's more difficult to bring that through potentially online or on a Zoom call as it would be standing in front of a learner or a student or someone whose business that you're in trying to support. So, however, having said that, you know, you've got to overcome that, haven't you? And you've got to find your way. So I've really worked on my smile and my facial expressions. It's
coming through in Zoom. It's absolutely coming through in Zoom, mate. I can feel it. You've already got me geared up. I'm ready. My mind's racing with, like, you know, more business ideas, which it shouldn't be, but you've already got me, you know, I can feel your passion. Absolutely. And yeah, you're absolutely 100% going to be successful with that. That's for sure.
Right.
And the other questions.
No, I think passion's a real interesting word, isn't it? And you know what? Absolutely. I'm passionate, but you know, and I don't want this to sound all holistic, but I'm passionate about helping and supporting other people, you know, and really trying to serve other people. Because I think if you're serving other people, I think ostensibly you're serving yourself, aren't you? And I think I get great gratitude and great, you know, I get great, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, great gratitude. You know, it makes me feel good to help others. And I think that's what I've done, or tried to do throughout my corporate business career. And I suppose you don't last over 20 years in a business without people thinking you're supporting them and helping them, you know?
Absolutely. It's so important. I've learned that within my business and the other businesses that I've had. The younger me, it was a case of, it was all about me, and, you know, what can I get out of this? But I think as you go on and over time, there is more that, you know, with what you were saying there, which is giving rather than receiving. You do get more out of it. Absolutely, you do. and then everything else kind of just follows after that. A younger you, what would you go back in time and say to your younger Derek?
Listen, that's a really good question. But just before I jump onto that, just in terms of what you said there about it's all about me. I think when you talk about leadership, there's a real disconnect. Here's my view. There's a real disconnect between the theory of leadership and the practical application of leadership. Because to be a great leader, you have to give. You have to put your peers and your teams. You have to put them front and foremost.
Yeah.
It's not about you. It's not about. It's a great saying, isn't it? People think the leaders when they stand at the top of the hill and they look down at their teams and say, "Hey, it's great up here. Come up and join me." A real leader stands at the bottom of the hill, and walks up with the team. And there's another saying, I think it's, you don't know who's swimming naked until the tide goes out. I think that's one that I like to use. You don't know who's swimming naked until the tide goes out. And that's just an analogy. You can talk the talk. At some stage the tide will go out. And whether and if you've been a great leader or not, that will certainly shine through at some stage. And one of my old managing directors, actually, one of my first managing directors, he was a great guy. And he said one thing which really, he said more than one thing, but he said something that really resonated with me. He said, it's how you conduct yourself when you're riding on the crest of the wave. Because at some stage, sometime, everybody hits the beach. And it's how you've conducted yourself while you're on the crest of that wave. That will depict whether people want to pick you up when you're lying with your face full of sand or not. And I've tried to apply that throughout my business career. But your question was, what advice would you give to a young Derek? And it's a question which resonates with me a lot, John, because as I said, I sort of deem myself as a failed professional football player. And I think I had at that point in time, I was a great talent. Obviously, I was a great talent to get to the levels where I got to. But I think at that point in time, I probably had a I don't know why, but a deep-rooted fear of failure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my football career probably didn't accelerate or reach the heights that it should have, because I was worried about my performance. I was worried about making a mistake. And I'm a great believer that thoughts become things, because what a thought does, thoughts create feelings create a state or a state of mind, which then derives your actions. So at times I would go into the football park, with international players, at the point in time, England internationals, Scotland internationals, and I'm on there thinking, I hope to God I have a good first touch. I hope to God I play well today. And what I've learned over time, if you go into the park hoping you're going to play well, or hoping you're going to have a great first touch, or hoping you're going to be successful, then the propensity for you to be, not to fulfill your potential, I think accelerates greatly. So advice I would give to young people, and whether it's in sport, whether it's in business, we're going to make mistakes. Go and express yourself. Don't be scared to make mistakes. Again, it's an old phrase, isn't it? There's no failures. There's only feedback, and it's about using that feedback to supplement your progression moving forward. And I think, thankfully, I sort of recognised that, and I recognised that I'm never going to be in a situation again whereby I fail or I get told that I'm not progressing just because I've been scared to make a mistake, because I've looked at the people around about me and thought, oh my God, do I deserve to be there? So the advice I give, listen, whatever environment you find yourself in, you deserve to be there. And I think as well, every advice I'd give to young people would be find what you're great at, find your specialism, because do you know what? Everybody's great at something. And do you know what? If you're not great at school, if academically you're not great, don't worry about it, because there'll be, I guarantee there's something that you're absolutely brilliant at. If you're not good at maths, don't worry about it. If you're not good at sport and you get a hard time, don't worry about it, because find what you are great at, because there will be something. And do you know what? Spend less time worrying about what you're not good at, and the stuff that you're not good at, just surround yourself with people that are good at it.
Mate, I think I might join your academy. This sounds amazing. I could sit here and listen to you all day. It's really good.
You're very kind. You're very kind. I wish we had 5 hours, because I tell you what, there's a lot of stuff I could maybe share here.
moving on to a favorite podcast or a motivation, a book that you've read in the past. Do you have something that stands out?
Do you know, again, that's a real interesting question, and it sort of relates back to the theory versus practice thing, you know. And I think I read a lot of books when I was younger, understanding the theory of leadership. And latterly, although I'm qualified in NLP, I have just requalified, and I've spent money and I've went and done it again, because things change all the time. So, you know, my latest tutor and trainer has been a guy called Ali Campbell, who to be fair is the NLP, you know, life coach, mind coach, whatever you want to call it, to the stars, just travels the world, you know. So I've spent a lot of the sort of last 6 months, you know, really going through that detail. And I think, again, there's a lot of, and I think what I'm taking from that is what the thinker thinks, the prover proves. You know, so I think it's, again, you go out there, and if you think you're good at something and you think, well, go and prove your work, go and actually do it. So I probably spend less time just now reading books. I spend more time actually learning, if that makes sense. And obviously I'm involved in the world of NLP. And to be honest with you, I'll listen to most things, because I'm a great believer. You can go on a podcast for an hour and you can listen to it. You can if you take one thing from it, which you can steal, then you know what, for me that's been worthwhile. And I work on the premise of three things. I like to, when I talk about feed the body. So I like to train. I think it's important to be physically fit. You know, I think it's important to keep up to speed on that in terms of your knowledge. I also believe in feed the mind. You know, so you talk about specific anything you're learning every day. I'm learning from this conversation I'm having from you. I'm going to steal your whiteboard, your blackboard. As I say, I've got a whiteboard. I like the chalkboard. You know, so I like, in terms of backgrounds on Zoom, yours is far more interesting than mine. So I'm going to steal that. So, you know, feed the body, feed the mind, and then, to be honest with you, go and copy people.
Yeah.
Go and copy people. And I'm a great believer. And listen, I'm not for one moment going to downplay education, but I'm a great believer that if you want to go and learn something, you know, go and find the person that does it really well. You and I were having conversations earlier on about Instagram and Facebook, etc. Yeah. You're an absolute expert in terms of your field and what you do in terms of networking, John. You're an absolute expert in terms of production, advertising, marketing, CRM. So I'm learning from you. You know, I'm taking all that from you, because you know what, life is, sometimes you don't have time to go and I'm a great believer in, there's a load of resource out there, but I think there's a difference between resource and resourcefulness.
Yeah.
And I think to be resourceful, you have to go and find the people, and don't be scared to go, do you know what, John? I'm not really up to speed on X, Y, and Z. Can you help me? Can you teach me?
Yeah.
So I think when you talk about, back to the original question, when you talk about podcasts, we talk about books, I really do believe in going and finding the people. If you want to learn something, if you want to know something, go and find the person and go and speak to them. You know, an example would be, if you want to be an interior designer, you can either go and spend 4 or 5 years at university understanding the theory of interior design. But if you're a young person, I would suggest, you know what, go and contact the top 20 interior designers in the UK and contact them and say, listen, I want to come and work for you. I'm going to work for you. I'm going to be the best student you've ever had. I'm going to be at your beck and call 24/7. And you know what? The great thing is, it's not going to cost you a penny, because I'm going to do it all for free for the next 2 years. So
it's a really good point. You can. Yeah, I think that you're so right. I mean, I listen to different podcasts, so, you know, I read different books or whatever else, but you're right. If you can grab that one thing, and that's part of the reason why I've started this podcast is, you know, speaking to all people like yourself are knowledgeable, who've had, you know, life experience, you've gone through all these different things. And I'm the same with you. I'm getting this information. Hopefully our viewers are as well, which is getting this information, pulling different bits and pieces, food, mind, spirit, doesn't matter. You know, as long as you're getting that information, you pull that one thing from it and it can make your life a little bit better, you're winning, aren't you?
Absolutely. And listen, I'm not one of these people. You find a lot of people that want to keep their information close to their chest. You know, I don't want to share it because it's a big secret, because if I share my information with you, then it might mean you might get one up in me or what. That's not what it's all about, you know. And I'm a great believer if you share, if you serve other people, do you know what? You'll get it back in abundance.
Absolutely. I read a book just recently. I think it was called They Ask, You Answer.
Okay.
I can't remember who it's by, but it's very similar to that point. It made me rethink my website, which one of the points was, how many times you go onto a website and if you can't find a price on there, then you're away. And I was thinking, actually, I don't put my prices on my website. I give the information, but I don't actually. I mean, it's the same thing as a restaurant. If you were going to go on and look at the menu and there's no prices on there, you're probably going to go somewhere else. Or, there's two things that you're going to look at when you go onto their website, their reviews, and you're going to look at their prices as well. And then you're going to make a decision from there. So I was thinking, yeah, actually, that's a really, really good point. And that was one of the things that I pulled from this particular book. But absolutely, I can completely understand that.
It's so true. It's back to the old way of selling. You talk about sales, it used to be the old don't give prices over the phone and all this sort of stuff. But hold on a minute, I'm a guest. For me, it's about the guest experience. If someone wants the prices over the phone, you give them the prices.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where if you're confident enough and you should never be ashamed of how much you're charging and what your prices are. If you firmly believe in your product and you firmly believe that it's going to serve the individual who's looking to purchase it, do you know what? You're actually doing them a disservice if they don't purchase it. So in terms, if you look at it from that perspective, you should never be shy about your prices.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the other things I wanted to ask you about is a bit of a deeper question, but have you ever had a pit moment in your life and a failure and then a breakthrough moment? So that could have been in the previous business or this one or anything that you've done. Do you have anything like that you'd like to share?
I think I shared the biggest one, which was when I failed as a football player. To be honest with you, that's probably one that resonated the most. But in terms of the sort of corporate world and corporate business, it's a difficult one because you make mistakes every day, don't you? And I think I'll be really honest with you. A breakthrough moment has happened just recently with me, and I think that by nature, I'm quite risk averse, right? Speak to my wife. She's more free flowing. She's still throwing the flip flops in the suitcase like an hour before you're meant to be at the airport.
Wow.
So like literally freaking me out. Whereas I want to be there 3 hours before in Frankie and Benny's, sit down there settled. Making sure if anything does go wrong, I'm sorted. So I think it's actually a really good question, and it's actually made me think. A real breakthrough moment for me is doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Doing what I'm doing now, overcoming that by nature being a little bit safe, I think now is really being brave to make myself, uncomfortable or comfortable being uncomfortable, if you put it that way. And I think you could call it this, hopefully this makes sense. It's almost dislocation of expectation, being in the corporate world where you've got a salary coming in, month in, month out, you're doing a great job, you're doing well, dislocation of expectation, that I need to dislocate that expectation, that's now going to happen. So now I'm in a different world, which, listen, I've absolutely no doubt will be even more rewarding, for many reasons, whether you call it, economically, commercially, or just from what I'm going to give people, so I think that's a real sort of pivotal moment for me, is just recently overcoming that and going, you know what, I'm actually going to go and take a step into the unknown here, and I'm going to believe in myself. And you know what?
It's going to work. Absolutely.
And I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to enjoy it as well. And I think that's really, really important, even in the corporate world. Don't get me wrong, you've peaks and troughs in the corporate world, but I think what I always tried to bring to it was an element of humour and an element of fun, because the fact of the matter is, as a leader, there's times where you have to not protect the teams, but you have to absorb, maybe what people like to call it pressure or whatever it may be. But you need to have an upbeat personality. You need to bring fun to the workplace, because people are not enjoying it. Do you know what?
Yeah.
What's the point? What is the point? So I'm definitely enjoying what I'm doing just now, and I'm definitely enjoying this chat I'm having with you, John.
Nice. Here's your chance for a wee plug of your business and the things that you've got coming up in the future. Give it to me. Where can I get information about your academy and anything else that you got going on as well?
So as I say, my email address, or I'll put my email address out there.
Absolutely, and I'll put it at the bottom of this video as well.
Yeah. As I say, my business is called Headway Training Academy. headwaytrainingacademy@gmail.com. So really simple. And I think, you know what, in terms of if you're needing support as a business, small business, medium-sized business, in terms of everybody's going through hard times, probably going to have to look at your business through a bit of a different lens moving forward. I'm fortunate enough in my corporate life where I've navigated big businesses through CVAs, administrations, rebrands, sales, etc. So to be fair, and that's what's given me the confidence. I've probably got a wide range and a broad spectrum of skill set and experience. And I think what I'm probably really proud of is the fact in my business, I'm probably the first real business to draw a direct correlation between culture and performance. And what I mean by that, in terms of putting the people first, in terms of setting up internal certification programs, internal development programs, and I'm talking about from coalface workers straight through to executive coaching. Previous business went from a 0-star rated business with best companies in the Sunday Times back in 2013, just as on the back of a CVA. And by impregnating the importance of people, the right behaviours, development programs, putting the people first, not only did we get to the stage where we turned the business around and we sold the business for a considerable sum of money, we also became number 52 in the Sunday Times best companies to work for, wow, which was a three-star operator. So I think I'm really proud of the fact. So for any business leaders out there who think they need, if you're asking for a plug, who feel they need support in terms of, I wouldn't call myself operations people director, I would call myself more transformational director. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what we've done. As the business grew, the business sold for a very healthy multiple, and at the same time, as the performance raised, so did the culture and the employee engagement. So it's a real great case study for anybody out there that needs some support on that. And then, do you know what? In terms of my wellness arm of the business, I recognise, particularly in the current climate where mentally it's tough for people at this point in time. But I'm a great believer. Do you know what? You're only one thought away from being okay. You're only one thought away from being okay. Negativity, call it stress, anxiety. That's all conditioned. That's all programmed. We can reverse that program. And do you know what the great thing is? We can do it quicker than you think. If you've got the desire and the want, you know what? You're already halfway there. You just maybe need a little bit of support, a little bit of direction, and someone just to help you with one or two techniques that can make you cool again. And then, of course, anybody out there that is looking to get involved in the sector of fitness through education and qualification, that's obviously another arm to my business, and I think particularly with that arm of the business, working in the sector in retail and leisure for the last 20 years, I'm probably as better placed than anybody to understand, what needs to be put into a qualification to make sure you've got the correct staff, the correct people in the right positions with the correct education and acumen and skill set. And as I say, doing it all with a smile on your face for a bit of fun as well.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for your time today. I've really enjoyed our conversation. That's it. We're done.
That's it. I'm not even going through half my whiteboard yet, John.
No, I really appreciate it. I've got so much, and we may even get you back on again in the future. Absolutely. But it's been really enlightening to speak to you today, and I can tell the passion you've got. You've got the skill sets. I know that you're going to do well with your Headway Academy. Absolutely, 100%. So thanks so much for your time, and we look forward to hearing from you again in the future.
No, one last thing for me, really. Listen, I love the work that you're doing as well, John. I really appreciate you inviting me on. You're doing a lot of great stuff out there, and I know you yourself are supporting a lot of businesses at this point in time, and the feedback is exemplary. So well done, you as well. I thought I'd give a little bit back there, because you're always praising other people. So it's nice.
Thank you.
It's nice to get a little bit back, isn't it?
Absolutely. So guys, make sure you like and subscribe and comment below, and we'll see you next time. Thanks very much.